Welcome, marvelous makers,
and art appreciators,
to the ArtSpace podcast,
brought to you by Lemon Street Gallery and ArtSpace,
located at 4601 Sheridan Road.
Stop on by your favorite citrus-themed art gallery.
Yeah, do it.
Come on in. We want to see you.
And I'm your host, Shelby Nesmith.
And I'm Jake Hoy.
And today we are going to be chit-chatting with the fabulous, the wonderful printmaker, Amy Misurelli Sorensen. Hi, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, good.
Oh, well, we are honored.
We're happy to have you. But before we jump in on all these questions and everything, how are you doing today?
I'm great.
Oh, we're good.
I'm having fun already.
Oh, we're good.
We've had a nice little chill out session. We've been chit-chatting, spilling the tea. Is that what the kids are saying these days?
Yes, Jake, that's what the
We've
kids...
been getting crunk.
No, God, no, not that one.
I'm old.
But yeah, we've been chit-chatting and just, letting out the spider webs and just airing it all out.
We're recording this the day after the art market.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah.
It was sweaty.
I
was
got
fun.
lucky and I had to stay inside.
Oh, boo-hoo.
I said I got lucky.
You're right. I'm the one saying boo-hoo because
Yes.
I sweat my butt off.
Yeah. You're just red as can be when you walked in the door, and I'm like, sit down.
I mean, I could be in better shape.
Have
And
some water.
There were 3 tents I had to haul. Anyways, this is not important.
But either way, it was a toasty one. But yeah, we're just talking art market and chit chatting. So
Amy was there. She enjoyed it.
It was my best market to date.
Yay.
I sold the most I've ever sold before. So
wow,
I think it was around 9 t-shirts and 1 print.
oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, my
Pretty good.
t-shirts are fire right now.
Those are so
if you
cool. I
don't
love the
have a
Dolly
t-shirt-
Parton one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to get that in.
I like it a lot too.
But yeah, you gotta go grab your shirts from Amy, and next time at the art market, she's here for the rest of the season. So go check out her booth. Go say hi. Gonna plug that before we get into the episode. But yeah, she will be at the art market. And then my question before the questions.
The pre-question.
The pre-questions. Dun dun dun.
Sorry to spring this on you.
I'm ready.
Yes,
I'm ready.
I'm ready. So if you could kind of describe your artistic style, if it like references anything, or like how would you describe your style of work that you produce?
I think one word that best describes my style is graphic. I like strong contrast, and so printmaking, especially black on white, I usually print on white paper or white t-shirts. I'm dabbling with color now, but I like that kind of graphic nature of what, a woodcut or a lino cut can be.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It relates to popular culture. It's easy to read.
Right.
My work's provocative, and so sometimes I want it to kind of have that kind of like contrast or aggressive, in your face kind of.
Boom, you
Yeah.
gotta look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like iconic almost, like in the sense of like stark and
It's there.
saying something.
Yes.
I don't know.
Synonyms to bold.
Yeah. I have a thesaurus open in front of me
Yes.
for those at home.
Running down it. Describing it. But yeah, along with that, the graphic nature of it, it just feels almost playing with the contrast. It feels kind of like in a newsprinterly kind of format as well, being printmaking. So I think that really really relates to that as well. So I love your work, but we'll get more into that as we ask our questions. But so launching into the first one.
Why don't we just get going here?
Yeah. Get to chit chat.
So, Amy, how did you first get into art, and what are some of your earliest art memories?
Okay, I'm prepared. I got some notes here.
Yes.
So I remember being obsessed with Garfield in the 3rd grade. And I think even kids today know who Garfield is.
Heck yeah.
So I used to like do these drawings during recess, and I'd sell them to my friends for $0.25. So this is 3rd grade, mind you. And then that kind of like progressed into like going to the library and checking out the Circus family books. So I was like already getting into graphic novels because I'm a huge graphic novel nerd. And then, making my own Mad magazines. So I wasn't mature enough to know what they were about. I didn't realize they were political, but I knew that they were something kind of fabulous that people like lowbrow, kind of underground wanted to read because they were interested in the humor or the satire.
Yeah.
So I remember those. And then the weirdest like memory I have is like church. So I grew up in Catholic school system, both elementary and secondary.
Me too.
My father put us through Catholic schools, and I was seduced by the paintings and the sculpture and the stained glass. I just remember like kind of listening and not really understanding the words in church, but like thinking that this was something bigger. And I became a visual being because of it. So I didn't really realize that though until like I went over to Italy a few times, and then I was like, oh, well, I'm on a pilgrimage because I'm an artist to see the art, right? But I had it right in front of me as a kid, just on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And you triggered a weird memory for me of church and artwork. I got raised very, very Pentecostal, and during sermons and everything, my dad would just hand me a pad of paper and a pen and just to keep me quiet during the sermon and everything. So that's my connection with art in church, is weirdly enough. So I just sit there and doodle, and he just be like, oh yeah, here's a pack of crayons, just go. And so that just popped in my brain, but had to include that. So hilarious having a connection with art and religion. So yeah.
And it's still kind of a part of me in a way, in the way that I make images. And really, 5th grade was a big turning point because I had a 5th grade art teacher, Mrs. Montgomery. She saw something in me, and I remember going to her house for private art lessons and more in-depth projects. And then there was Miss G, my high school art teacher. She recognized my talent and put me in AP art classes. And I'm eternally grateful for her for this because she's one of my biggest role models still today. And then finally, my maternal grandmother, she saw the talent, recognized the talent, and started putting my artwork in Kenosha County Fair shows. And I was winning awards like as a high schooler. And so that was a really big deal. And so without those 3 women in my life, I would have never been confident to go and pursue a degree in the arts at UW Parkside.
Oh, well,
So that's kind of how it all started.
yes. Awesome. Girl power. Yes. As that later relates to your work as well. So glad that you had that support system and just those strong role models to push you into the arts, because it's so hard sometimes. So
County Fair just happened.
Yes.
And is it like really a blue ribbon? Like, is that what you get if you win the fair?
Yeah.
Like for art?
Yeah.
For art, for animals.
Oh, we're gonna take a break.
We'll just cut
real
this
quick.
out.
Yeah. We're back. Sorry, I had to move my car. We're gonna acknowledge it.
Okay.
Yep.
You heard the lady.
Yes. So the county fair. Yes, you do
You get a blue ribbon.
Yes, you get a
Okay.
blue ribbon. And this year we had a big push from Dale Mahler, who was trying to get the biggest art show in Kenosha.
Yeah.
So
It was cool of her to do that.
yeah, a lot of art people entered this year. So it's good seeing that kind of support and showcasing what the city's got. So yeah, awesome. So and a lot of people forget about that as a platform as well. Like that's a good way to showcase your stuff too, in a kind of a neutral setting as well. So yeah, awesome.
All right.
Yes. Sorry, my brain is just like, where were we going with this? My car got moved. Good. I'm not in anyone's way.
You're fine.
Yes.
We got another question.
Yes, we do. So who I'm tripping.
Who are your influences?
Yes. Who were your influences on your artwork?
Well, my printmaking professor, Doug Deviney at UW Parkside, was a huge influence in my art. He taught me the process of printmaking, which is more difficult, I feel, than painting and drawing, because painting and drawing kind of lend themselves to a lot of different ways of coming out. But like printmaking is very process orientated and technical. And so there's like a lot of steps to achieving your end goal. And so that was he was great because he had been doing it for many years. He's now retired. But he introduced me to like German Expressionism and artists such as Katie Kolowitz, Alice Neal, and the book The Power of Feminist Art.
Ooh.
Yes, my older male professor introduced me to feminist art, and I remember just clutching that book through my entire bachelor career at UW Parkside. And the coolest thing about that is it continued on, because when I went to graduate school at American University in Washington, D.C., I had the absolute privilege of taking a class by the women who wrote that book.
Wow.
Norma Brody and Mary Goddard.
Oh my gosh.
And so, yeah, I left Kenosha to live and study in DC, and yet this book just kind of followed me there. So it was kind of like an interesting bridge between my bachelor's and my master's. And so feminist art is deeply rooted in my research. I mean, it's where like I found my voice, like as an artist. I'm like, I want to be an artist who talks about feminist theory in her work.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I feel that feminist theory might seem very different or dated today, it's still very important to my practice, my research.
Nice. So you're very much an artist, not like I'm an artist that happens to be female. You're very much like I am a female artist and I'm going to represent that. So taking on that hard perspective and stance, I think is and that's your choice to make too. And I'm glad you've made that choice because it's beautiful, powerful work.
You know, as I just said, dated, I just thought of Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I don't know that it's dated. And I think women still are trying to reach for equity today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of taken on a different form as we've been growing, but I still think there's that push and everything. So, yeah, I'm all for it, very excited for it. And yeah,
I haven't seen the new Barbie movie.
I haven't either.
I haven't either, but I want to. I'm planning
I hear
on
good
seeing
things.
Yes.
It. Yeah.
I just don't go to theaters.
Same. There are people there.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
to watch my movies at home
I
on
like
the
to
couch.
pause.
Pause a pee break and not miss. Yeah.
Yes, but
So I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting for it to hit streaming, and
yeah,
that's gonna be awesome. So
it's funny. Your story about the book. I had a similar thing happen to me.
yes.
The guy I didn't take a class, but I worked closely with the guy that wrote the book on synoptic meteorology, Howie Bluestein, who's like an icon in the field of synoptic meteorology. So,
Super cool.
and that's okay. Nobody listening
Nature's artwork.
cares or knows about that, but that's fine. I was starstruck.
Aw.
I'm like, he was on the original Vortex experiments. Like, whoa, back in the 90s.
Wow.
So,
Well, I'm glad
We all
you're
have
there.
our heroes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, feminism nerds and weather nerds. Yes.
I mean, for all I know, Howie Bluestein's a great feminist. But
Hey,
I hope
go
so.
for it. Yeah. Well, awesome.
All right. Well, our next question. Who are some of your favorite artists? And that would include local artists and then like famous ones also.
Okay. Well, I mentioned a few before, so I'm going to keep those out. Frida Kahlo, Paula Rego, Louis Bourgeois, Bisa Butler, Amy Sherald, and this new one, Gio Swaby, I'm really into. Gio does these embroidery portraits, mostly of African-American women, and incorporates fabric into them. And so they kind of do have that kind of graphic nature with color and pattern and line. And I'm really into line. If you look at my work, I'm super seduced by line. So I think, they're all female artists, and I find their work to be important when I'm looking for inspiration. But I also have like my favorite printmaking artists. So like printmaking world is completely different from like the art world. So I feel like if you're famous in the painting world, that's totally different from being famous in the printmaking world. The printmaking world is a lot smaller. And so I've had the opportunity to work with some of these people, purchase their work because it's not expensive because they're printmakers, right? And so I've started my own collection of prints. And some of my favorite printmaking artists are, let's see here if I wrote them down. Tom Huck, I've gone to St. Louis and worked under him. Chicago artist Carlos Barberina, the Hernandez brothers, Joseph Velasquez, I wish I could work with Suko and meet Suko. And then Delita Martin.
Oh, yes.
And then local artist, I have them in categories. I really love Diane Levesque's work. I love Carly Lyon's work. I'm sitting among it right now, and I'm just like eyeballing it the whole time during this podcast.
We are blessed.
Yeah.
And of course, my friend Lisa Bigalki, she and I are co-organizers of the annual Full Steam Ahead event, which happened just 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
It's hosted by the Westum. And we have been doing it for 7 years. So we make very large blocks. We invite about 10 through 15 other artists, and we the Westum rents a steamroller for us artists to use to print our blocks. And so they're inked up, they're put on the concrete, and fabric is placed on the top, mat board, blanket, and then we start up the steamroller and Trisha rolls those blocks right over. And there you go, as you have this kind of performative spectacle of printmaking that the audience really gets to enjoy. So it's an event I'm really proud of. And so I couldn't help but mention Lisa. And then Lisa and I are also colleagues at Carthage College, and we kind of work together in the Carthage printmaking studio together during the summer. So yeah, those are some of my favorite artists.
Important
And Louise Bourgeois, she's famous, but I had the pleasure of meeting her. She has passed, but she used to host salons in her brownstone in Chelsea, which is or was the art district when I was in grad school. And she'd always bring out some like bourbon and chocolates and critiques, right? And so like 3 of us grad students from American University went to her salon, and she looked at my work and she said, "Where do you show at?" And it was like, you know, again, like a hero that not everybody knows of, but a hero to you, you know, admiring my work, asking where I show. And it was like, you know, for me, the best comment ever made about my work. So I'm kind of like fortunate that I had that experience. And that only would have happened by going out, you know, to Washington, D.C. to pursue my master's degree in art. So.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is so cool. I'm glad that you got to have that connection with your professor going forward and everything like that. It's those kind of connections are just so special, and I don't know, just hold them real close. So yeah, I love that.
I have to say that one of my earliest memories of Shelby here is her telling me all about Full Steam Ahead.
Oh yes.
And me being like, not a real steamroller, right? And she's like, yeah, a real steamroller.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that was a thing. And at that point, when you were telling me that, I didn't know what printmaking was. So now I know better.
You're welcome. No, I can't.
I mean, we've had a whole slew of wonderful printmakers. A Murderer's Row on, and
I can't help it. I gotta support my fellow
been a
medium.
blessing.
Yes.
I've learned so much. You have educated Jake.
Yeah.
Speaking of educated Jake, I have an educate Jake.
Yes.
What does line mean? You mentioned you were infatuated or something with line.
Line is when a dot takes a walk.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay.
I'm a teacher.
I know what that is. But what do you mean by that?
So line is an element of art, right? So every picture you look at, you recognize line. But line also becomes a style. It becomes like authentic to you. And I feel like I've worked really hard to kind of come up with an authentic line quality in my work. So, you know, where there are thick lines, there are thin lines, there are dash lines, there are dotted lines. There's something like that I feel like I'm comfortable doing based on repetition, where you look at my work and you can recognize my line quality as being different from somebody else's that's doing the same thing with the same materials.
Okay, I see. It's like a distinctive, like a signature almost.
Yeah, of course, learned from many. Like I said, the German expressionists kind of had, you know, this raw, you know, expressive line in their work. And I look through their books all the time. And so I feel like that's in my line, but I've worked really hard to try to create more authentic line quality.
Okay, I get it.
And I know we've talked about line work and mark making. Those are kind of similar in the terms of, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
with
remember
Beth.
mark making.
I think
yeah,
Beth
yeah.
talked about mark making. But it's a similar concept of just like what you can do with the line and how shadows can be created with that line and different things. So kind of takes on different forms and characteristics, but it's your line.
And the more
So, yeah.
advanced you get, it becomes, not about vertical or horizontal or, but cross contour, cross hatch, parallel hatch. You start to like, I teach these things at Carthage College in my drawing one class is like, how can you achieve value by using a tool that doesn't blend? You just have to make a line. Well, how do you show the contour of something just by using a line? Or how do you show value, like a darkness or a shadow, just by using a contour line?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a different way of drawing. And when I do make a block, I draw 3 times. With the linoleum, I draw my line, I Sharpie my line, and then I carve my line.
Mm-hmm.
So line is kind of like precious to me.
Yeah.
I get it. That kind of just blew my mind. I don't think about, as a artist, I don't think about that. Like, how do you show a thing? Like, it's just kind of mind blowing to like think about.
But they're all around us. I mean, there were the horizon meets the water.
Sure.
There are the lines in the road. Parallel lines run up and down. The road, and they're in the windows and on the floor and in the bricks. They're everywhere. Lines are everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And with connecting with that too, in my recent show is just connecting with different energies within lines too. Like you can have a crazy line, you can have a very structured, very precise line, and there's different energies you can get with different line work. So it's really fun, and yeah, I enjoy it. And I also enjoy in your work the chatter that you kind of include with your prints and everything, how that chatter translates into then like shading and kind of other details to the piece, like adds an air of energy around the figure too. So I really like that, especially with the Frida piece. It just, I don't know, gives it an extra energy to it. Like if it were just a flat white, it was just like, I don't know, would it feel the same or not? And so I just love that energy kind of buzzing around her, kind of. So,
Thanks. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with chatter.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't want any chatter at all. And so you go towards linoleum. But wood, you can't help. I feel you cannot help but get that chatter. So wood is raw, and it
you're going to get the grain.
It fights against you, and you're going to get the grain, and you're going to get lines that appear. But yeah, sometimes the chatter, even in the linoleum, just totally works at the end. And you're, I'm just going to leave that.
Yeah. It added a new energy. So, yeah.
I just learned a new thing right there. Chatter.
Yeah. Chatter. So, yeah, that's just like as you're carving, sometimes peaks and valleys will get picked up. And so it'll just kind of add around your drawing a little bit of line work that's there. And they just kind of float around, and sometimes they add texture. And so, yeah, with your Frida piece, it's just, I love it. It makes it, I don't know, just a little pizzazzy with it.
Was that one carved with wood?
Yes.
On wood? Okay.
3 by
see
4
it now.
feet. It was a
Yeah,
beast.
it's a big
Oh
one.
my God.
Because I mean, it really, I have to wear gloves.
Oh yeah.
I usually have to wear long sleeves to protect my arm
Oh,
because
man.
all that cutting and think about it, you have to constantly move the block around to get, to one.
Yeah.
3 by 4 is huge, and you're not using a brush, and it's you got to kind of work with the wood grain, and so I'm just constantly moving around. But yeah, it's a little bit of a loving but painful process, and I kind of like it. Like I feel like it kind of matches that feminist theory. There's like a level of like aggression or anger or resistance,
Yeah.
and those are the kind of things I talk about in my work too, is resistance of patriarchy, or why aren't we at the same level as men, or why are our rights being taken away
Definitely.
2022?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I really like that symbolism through that process too, that you just brought up, of like fighting against it, but you're still pushing through and coming out in the end as kind of this beautiful image. So love that.
Here, here.
So yes, Jake agrees.
I agree.
So moving right along into our next question here. What is your motivation to create? I know we kind of dabbled in that and talked around it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
the big question here.
Yeah.
But
You know what? When I think about it, I can just kind of think about words And like curiosity is big. I'm an educator. I'm constantly into educating myself. It's a lifetime journey. So curiosity for sure, which leads to research. Fear. Like as I get older, I become fearful of things. And you know, growth, like growth is big. I mean, you always want to grow, whether you're a writer or an artist or a musician. You know, you never want to get to the point where you're playing or making the same thing over and over again. Disappointment, anger, happiness, hopefulness, and sanity, because I get terribly depressed if I go weeks on end without entering the studio.
Oh, yep.
So I feel like as long as I go in there and I'm thinking or drawing or carving or painting, I'm taking care of myself. Kind of like yoga.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And I always feel like I'm on this search to find a balance between beauty and ugliness.
Yes, definitely.
Like I never want my work to be too beautiful, but I've spent several years making really ugly stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Well, in that tandem, it works with your line of kind of not having it like perfectly in, like if it were a photo or something. Like that doesn't pair with your line. So yeah, it totally makes sense that you're not striving for this absolutely like perfect thing.
We don't
So-
have to anymore. We haven't had to since the invention of photography.
Yeah. So I was like,
So yeah.
let's have fun.
And I feel like with the way that the iPhones are going, or you know, the other ones, I mean, almost everybody can be a photographer today. Not everybody can draw. Not everybody can be a printmaker. I do feel that art is for everyone. So I really stand by Keith Haring, and art is for everyone. And we all begin life as an artist. But then a lot of us just give up. So, I mean, I stuck with it. I couldn't help but stick with it. Like I teach high school and I ask them, I'm always asking them, set goals. What do you want to be? I don't know, Miss Amy. And I knew in the 3rd grade when I was drawing those Garfields into Mad magazines, into like showing at the Kenosha County Fair as a high schooler, into being a Lemon Street member while I was in undergrad. I knew this was my place in the world. It's not always easy, but it kind of feels great knowing that I'm doing what I should be doing in life.
Oh yeah, so you just knew in your bones from day one. You're like, hey, this is what I meant to do, and you did it. So it's awesome.
I wanted to be an air traffic controller.
I think I remember this.
Did I tell you that story?
I don't know if we recorded it on
That might have been off air.
Yeah,
That was one of the first things. I don't know why. I don't know where I got it from. I was interested in planes, but I thought it would be too much pressure to be the pilot.
Yeah.
But I was wrong. Like that's even more pressure. Like you hold so many people's lives in your hands. You know, you one wrong move and boom.
But yeah, I remember you telling me, you're just like, it was just like the thought of just being, hey, I'm around airplanes and you're just kind of up in the tower chilling.
Yeah, and it's kind of like an obscure thing. And I thought I sounded kind of quirky and fun as a 9-year-old saying that, because everybody else is saying, I want to be a gym teacher. I want to be a
police officer.
Firefighter. Doctor, But no, I want to be an air traffic controller.
Hey, you still can.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to be that anymore.
Like, my anxiety won't let me.
No, I'm good.
But weird tangent. I had a stepbrother who he wanted to work at McDonald's as a kid so bad. He wanted to be the kid. He wanted to grow up and be the person that pours the orange juice in the morning. He was so specific.
Very.
I just remember, he was tell stories of when he was a kid and he wanted to pour the orange juice at McDonald's. And so
it's not the first thing I think of.
Yes.
I mean, the fries or something else.
No, he wanted to be in charge of that orange juice. I don't know why. Such a goober.
I think my brother wanted to work at KFC. Was his choice. That was a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Fast food. It's
but either way,
big for kids.
Yes. But
a lot of my high school students work in the fast food industry.
Well,
yeah, definitely.
That's one thing to say. It's attainable.
Yeah.
And no shade on them.
Oh no. But the fact that he wanted it so specifically,
That's
I was
so
like,
funny.
don't know, kid, if you can handle that, pouring the orange juice every morning. So, but Oh yeah, scooching on along. Oh, well, actually, I forgot. My time is thrown off because we took a break before, but we are going to take a quick break.
Yes,
and
we
we
are.
will be back to chit chat more with Amy. And we've got some words from our sponsor.
Hello, ArtSpace podcast fans. This is Joseph from Draw Joseph Studio. Most of you know who I am. I have this fabulous world-class draw studio up in Racine at the Racine Business Center, 1405 16th Street. My studio is real easy to find. It's on the first floor on the east side, right inside the tunnel. If you know the Racine Business Center, it's a big, tall brick building, and there's a big Von Schrader on the east side of the building, and the tunnel's right underneath the Von. So come in the tunnel, first studio to your right. And on every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30, the gates open up, and at 6 p.m., I have a model posing. You're invited. It's free. Tip the model. Hope to see you there.
And we are back.
Hello.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yes.
We had a little beer discussion in our break here.
Yes.
The qualities of PBR versus old style and the yin and the yang, so to speak.
Yes.
We'll let you just imagine what we were talking about at all.
Yeah. If only I was recording.
Because Shelby didn't record it.
Oh.
That's okay.
But either way, we're happy that you guys are still here with us
Yes.
as we're gonna keep on chit chatting with Amy. So loving the conversation, and we're gonna continue it. So we're getting into the fun questions
Yes.
here.
Okay.
The fun
Registered
section.
trademark fun section.
Yes. So jumping back into it, if time and money were no object, what would your dream project be?
I would simply travel the world, look at art,
Oh yeah,
look
take it
at
all in.
art objects, look at everything, architecture, just travel the entire world. And then between those travels, go into my studio every day.
Oh yeah, having the time to do that. It's hard.
Where do
Yeah.
you most want to go that you haven't been?
Jake's a big travel guy.
I love travel, so we could make this the rest of the show, and I'd
Yeah.
be.
London, Iceland,
Oh,
Egypt, Japan.
That's a solid list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a good start.
Yeah, definitely.
I've fortunately been to a lot of countries
I was going to say,
in
you
Europe.
mentioned Italy earlier.
Yeah, Italy.
Mhm.
I've been to Germany, Greece, France, Czechoslovakia,
Ooh.
Austria.
Just come down the list.
She's-
Ooh, I want to go to Croatia.
Croatia.
Yeah.
I hear it's really nice. They filmed Game of Thrones there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
beautiful.
one of the things that I remember. The Dalmatian coast. That's what they call that's where the term for the dog comes from. It's like Croatian.
Equals speckled and black and white dog.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But also just that region, that coast, it's beautiful.
Oh, okay.
I believe the Adriatic Sea.
Look at you.
I love geography.
I like traveling.
Well, she's got me beat
Yeah.
because I've not been that well traveled.
I've been to Amsterdam too.
Oh,
Ooh.
I flew into Amsterdam and I had to be in the city of Rembrandt, and
Sure.
then I went to Delft to go see my gosh, the name is Vermeer.
oh, gotcha.
Ah.
And so you kind of like feel like there's got to be the spirit of their legacy in the streets and in the
Yeah.
towns, you know.
Gotta
So-
walk down it and take it in and just be like, yes. Art.
Yeah,
Yes.
Amsterdam in that area would be high on my list.
Yeah.
The only European country I've been to is Ireland,
Mm.
and did a little heritage trip over there last summer. And
Mhm.
technically, though, I did cross into Northern Ireland, which counts as the UK
Mm.
Ooh.
politically. I mean, it's up for debate whether it should or not. But so I technically have been to the UK, but only Northern Ireland. I've not been to
Mhm.
Great Britain.
I've only we had a layover in Amsterdam, so unfortunately we couldn't like explore. We did the study abroad trip through UW Parkside. So I've been all over Italy, but I would like to go through Amsterdam and stuff.
You went with Carrie Waters?
Yeah, I went with Carrie.
I went with Carrie Waters to teach that program
Oh, ah,
2 times. I believe 2 times, yeah. And so she really gets us through Italy from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's a tour and a half.
It's incredible. It's an incredible experience. I'm glad
Yes.
that you had it.
Yeah, and I met with Patricia Briggs and everyone, and it was a really fun time, and I'm glad I got to experience that. That was,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our past guest Brenna was with you on that trip.
yes, Brenna did go with me, and that's when I witnessed her fall in love with David.
I was just gonna
But-
say
Mhm.
David's butt.
Yeah, she was just photographing David's butt.
Listen to
It's a nice
Brenna's
butt.
episode
Yeah.
for more info on that.
It's like episode 17
we
or
talked
18.
a lot about it.
Yeah. And that was just a life-changing trip for us, and just kind of the art perceptions and everything that are placed upon us. And so I feel like that really helped us kind of coming out of college and everything, because that was like our big summer trip, and then we had a semester and we graduated. So it was just a great send-off, and I think a great timing in our lineup of education and everything. So yeah, it was really fun. Yeah.
The one on your list that stuck out most when I asked you which you would go to was Egypt. And I think it's so cool that like the hieroglyphics and stuff is what I immediately thought of as far as like the art scene in Egypt. But I'm sure there's much more than that.
Well, the pyramids and the Sphinx.
Yeah.
And just the idea of seeing something that we don't understand how it's made. Or maybe we do. I mean, there's just a lot of like controversy about how that stuff is made.
Right.
So we went to Chichen Itza 2 Aprils ago, and that
Okay.
was just incredible. You're just like, what? It's a calendar, you know? And you're just looking at these ruins, you know, and just trying to imagine civilizations that were super intelligent.
Yeah.
You know, we think that the Renaissance is the beginning of it all, but things were happening way before the Renaissance.
Oh yeah.
And so, but you have to search out those, you know, places, and you have to travel to them. So,
And I'd like to see your artwork after a trip to Egypt too, because I believe they're very repressive of women there, and like require you to cover your body and everything too, and everything like that. So I'd like to see you taking that experience and kind of again reworking it and
I love that,
exploring
yeah.
it. So yeah, I think just adding that to the list of perspectives and everything, I think. Yeah, that could be really cool. Make some cool artwork out of that.
Now I want to travel.
Aw,
I do got a trip coming up. So.
Wanderlust.
Yeah.
Well, you got your trip coming up, so
Yeah.
Yep, think about it.
I've done my share of traveling, just not Europe. I need to see more of Europe.
Yeah.
I've been to all 50 states,
Mhm.
but
You've seen it all, dude. Yeah, more international travel.
50 states, that's an accomplishment.
thank you. Yeah. It
All
was
in a Kia Rondo.
almost all.
Yeah.
I couldn't drive to Hawaii.
Yeah, that was hard.
I could have driven to Alaska, but it would have taken so long, so I flew there. But the rest of them, yeah, all in a Kia Rondo,
Yes.
Wow.
which I don't own anymore.
But well, awesome. I'm glad you're working on that dream list and traveling and having some fun. Yeah.
Well, we've got our part 2 of our fun section.
Yes.
our fun question. What is the funniest comment you've heard about your art?
I wish I had a notebook of all the things I've ever heard,
I was about to
because
say.
the 2 comments I remember are most recent comments, and they were at an art fair or a steamroller event, and I had a little boy come in and say, "What is this?" And you know, I just think that's just such a, you know, kids have no filter.
Yeah.
They don't hold back, you know. And so it was just like a really kind of honest question. It just came out with the right tone and everything. I was not offended. I kind of think it's kind of funny. And then I had an older gentleman come in and say, "What kind of mind creates something like this?"
Oh,
And I said, "This one right here," as I pointed to my head. But my favorite comment of all time was a journalist in Milwaukee. So I lived in Milwaukee for 3 years, and I lived in Bayview, and I had gallery nights, and I showed at a gallery that's closed now, but it was in the 3rd Ward. It was called Lucky Star, and it was just a really kind of well-known spot on gallery night to visit. They had beer pouring by Brenner Brewery, who opened up his own brewery, and I think it's closed now. But this journalist kind of went to the show and wrote something in the Shepherd, and she said she's kind of like a Peaches of the art world. And I don't know if you know who Peaches is. She's a musician and performer, and she's like this great feminist, and I love her. And I think she was like a kindergarten teacher
Gotcha.
and she just does these outrageous performances. And I saw her at Summerfest, so it really kind of like I was proud. I was
Aw.
like, yes, I'm the Peaches of the art world.
Yes.
That's the one you hang on to.
Yes, that is
Be
so
careful if you look her up.
important.
Okay.
Gotcha.
That's her homework for the listeners at home.
Yes, peaches.
It's funny you mentioned the kids have no filter, and I don't know if this happened. This might have happened at the art market Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Either that or it happened at work like today. But there was like a family walking by, and the little girl goes, "Daddy, if you had a slug, what would you name it?" And the dad goes like, "I'd name it Sluggy or something. Let's go." And the kid goes, "I would name it Murphy." And then by then they had walked past me and I couldn't hear anymore. And that just stuck in my head. I was always thinking all days, why would she name it Murphy? Who's Murphy? Like,
Kids are.
I imagine that there was this boy at school that she hated named Murphy, and he's like a slug. I would name him a Slug Murphy.
Aw.
Anyway,
Yeah.
complete tangent.
Yeah, I was like, cool.
Not related to art at all.
No, but the creative minds of a child to ask, what is this?
So our next question: what would you name a slug if you had to name a slug? I'm kidding.
Yes.
Gooey.
Gooey.
Sticky.
I would name it Murphy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'd name it Ralph. So going into now our serious question.
Well, it doesn't have to be.
Oh no, it could be fun and light, but it's I think it's a deep question, and we always like it because it's some good feedback. But what are some of your thoughts on the local art community? Strengths, weaknesses, something we can improve on, or something you want to see in the art community?
Well, going back to like my grandmother and the Kenosha County Fair, I don't think that there was much of a venue until Lemon Street started. And I remember Lemon Street starting. I remember that community of artists. There's Monty and Melanie and these people that were kind of like, the start of everything for the community and exhibiting and coming up with a permanent space, not necessarily an art show that, only happens during the summer, but creating a permanent space where artists could come together. They can take classes, they can exhibit their work. So I think that's great. I think that really helped our history in Kenosha. But we definitely need more support. We need more support from our community. Don't just attend, but spend. Like Kenosha is a large community. There's money in Kenosha. And as an educator, I hope that I'm doing my part both at Carthage and Ruther at not creating artists, but creating art appreciators, people that walk into the galleries and they can understand how something's made and they enjoy their time looking at art, or they become art collectors. Some of my Carthage kids, I said, oh yeah, business, you're going to be a perfect businessman. Maybe not the best drawer, but a great businessman. And please buy art. Buy art from local artists. Buy art from artists that are going to be an investment for you. Art is a conversation piece in your house. It could just be a special piece for yourself to see that piece. But I see that there are a lot of people that walk these markets. We were talking earlier about both the food markets and the art markets, the art fairs, and it's like a novelty. Well, let's just go there for today, but there are people there that are trying to make a living, or it's their second job, and making a living. And I feel like whenever I go to houses, I that's the first thing I do is I look at their art.
Oh yeah.
And I can tell you who the coolest art collectors are in Kenosha, and they're mostly artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really need more support. I mean, artists supporting artists is important, but we really need people to stop buying their artwork from Hobby Lobby, people to stop buying their artwork from Target, because you can find things that are equal, greater than the things that you're purchasing there, and at a price that could even be similar. So I feel that my mission is to make art appreciators and art collectors out of these students, you know, because not everybody's an artist. We come into this life as an artist, but not everybody's an artist, and that at least, you know, learn how to look at things, because I think what we forget is that this is a recording of a personal narrative or a history, or we start off like cave painters, right? You know, we all had to leave our mark. That's what we're doing. We're leaving our mark, and we need your support. We need community support. I love when places that are successful collaborate with artists, and hopefully don't collaborate with the anticipation that it's going to be free.
Oh, yeah.
That we need to make a living off of this. You know, it's so easy to ask a creative person, oh, will you do this for me? And for them to think, oh, that would be such an honor to do that for you. Well, no, I mean, there's supplies, and there's my time. Like time is valuable. And like, so I think we just need more education when it comes to art, and we need collectors. And you don't have to be somebody that comes with a huge backpack of knowledge, but just like, I've had students in here that are taking their first high school art class. I bring them to Lemon Street, and they're looking at Carly Lyon's work, and they're like, oh, I could only afford it. I'm like, maybe you can't today, but maybe, you know, in the future you can. Or maybe, you know, your grandma will get it for you, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I love to see kids at the market. Oh my gosh, Jason Heedman's a good one. His booth is next to mine, and like a kid will go like, I want that piece, you know, and I'm just like, yes, Jason, way to make, you know, art collectors out of them right away, you know?
Yeah. And Brenna's right by the info booth, and so kids will just come up and just be like, I want that bunny. And it's just like, yes, it's something that was made by hand is being appreciated and acknowledged by these kids. So it's just like, you don't have to have this like name brand toy or whatever. It could be this handmade thing.
And it's something you can't take for granted that they know it's handmade by the person standing in the booth. Because I have people ask me, who's making these?
Right.
Oh,
I am.
They think you're like curating or something.
Right. Like, I'm like just, you know, selling for
this
somebody.
Is stuff I thought was cool.
I made these. So I love how the art market lends itself to educating the audience. You know, like, I made this. This is how I made this. I bring practice blocks. I hear other artists talking about how they make their work. And I think that, you know, if we educate, I'm not talking about, you know, institutionalized education, but like just going to an art market and us artists talking, like educating them about what we do, our craft, and hopefully getting that support. Somebody buys something.
Yeah. Like a exposure to it, almost like to that process, because yeah, you can see a painting on the wall, but like, what was those steps? So definitely, yeah, opening the minds to and making aware of like, yeah, there was like 500 steps that happened to get that there. Because a lot of people don't realize that. Just like, oh, well, you just sat there and you painted and whatnot. It gets kind of lumped into, oh yeah, you sat there and painted, but there's so much to the process that people do to get their work. So yeah, I think it's important to expose that as much as possible.
And it's just another way of supporting local. I mean, I only eat, you know, east of 39th, you know? And so I know that like my money is going into the pockets of families that live and work here. And so I think that that's important to think about too, when you see these artists at the market, like, what? You want $100 for this? It's like, listen, you don't have a problem spending $100 at Target, you know,
How
like,
much were those jeans?
like, I mean, this is a permanent object. You're not consuming something that's going to be fleeting. You know, this is something important.
And I think a lot of people, like especially non-artists, exclusively non-artists, they like think of it as like, oh, I have to buy like the Mona Lisa, or like I buy a Picasso or something. Like that's all they know, or maybe not all they know, but that's what they think of by default with art, is like the famous ones, the ones that are hanging in museums and stuff like that. And I can't afford that, so that means I can't afford art. And it's like,
Right.
no,
No.
it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Especially as a printmaker. So
Yeah.
it's a
Oh.
very democratic medium, like where you can make 1,000 prints and sell them, for $10
Mhm.
and make a lot of money, versus one painting that you'll never see again. And that's like people that I follow, like Albrecht is another one of my favorite artists. He was a printmaker in the 1500s, and he decided, he's like, forget this. I'm 19 years old. I'm a painter. I'm incredible. I know what I'm doing, but I want people to see this, more people to see this. So his rhinoceros belongs in many institutions, so we can all enjoy to look at a Albrecht Dürer print of a rhinoceros. So, it's like the paper, right? Now it's social media. And so it's just kind of cool to get your work out to many people. So my prints are inexpensive. My t-shirts are inexpensive. And it makes me so happy to see them hanging up or being worn.
Love that. And with even printmaking, you kind of get to establish your value too, in terms of like, how many are you going to run in a series? Like you mentioned before, you can do 100, you could do like 20, and then just kind of scale it to what you want to do. There's a lot of freedom in that and what you want to provide. Whereas like painting, you just got to do those over and over, like versus that. So, yeah, I like the freedom to be able to choose how many times I want to print something or something like that. So really fun.
That was something that really confused me when I was first learning about printmaking. Was like, why wouldn't you just make like a billion of them? Like, well, you only made 2? Like, there's a series of 7. Why? Like,
They're more valuable.
yeah. And I get that now. But.
Yeah.
Especially when you're printing large. That's a lot of paper, a lot of
ink.
So a lot of expenses.
So yeah, like the steamrolled things. Yeah, those. It's hard to do that, and I give you guys so much love and support for doing that, because putting that together and keeping that going, it's an expensive process. So yes, I love it, and I will probably be there next year.
Good.
So,
I'd love to have you.
yes. So yeah, that's really, really fun way to kind of just engage printmakers as well through the steamrolled. But and I didn't mean to derail the conversation. So is there anything else you'd like to mention about the community? Okay, awesome.
Well, that was our last question.
Yes.
So that means it's time to talk about where people can find you.
Yes.
I'm on social media.
Mhm.
I'm on Facebook, Amy Misurelli Sorensen, and then Instagram, Amy Misurelli Sorensen. In terms of seeing my work, I'll be at the last 2 art markets. It's the 3rd Sunday of the month in September, 3rd Sunday of the month in October. Hopefully I'll have a Bob Ross t-shirt ready to,
Ooh.
yeah, I got some others, Mr. Rogers.
Ah.
So yeah, I'm trying to pull out a new t-shirt at every art market.
Oh, very cool. What was the new one for this one?
It was Dolly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say, if there happens to be a 2XL dolly at the next one, that will be coming home with me.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We got you.
But yeah, the next one is September 17th, and the October one is October 15th.
Oh, gotcha.
So, sorry, just for reference.
Yes. Well, awesome. So go see Amy at the art market, and yeah, go instead of just being there supporting, spend, as you've said
Yes.
before. It's so important.
Beautifully said.
So you support by spending. So love to see that. And you can also find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at the ArtSpace Podcast, and Instagram at the ArtSpace Pod. So check us out there and give us feedback, chit chat, do the things that you do on social media.
We want to hear from you.
Yes. And you can find us wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher is dead.
Not Stitcher.
Yeah, not Stitcher.
The other ones, though.
Yes, wherever you get your podcasts. And our YouTube channel. But yeah, so leave us comment, rating, whatever you do on those platforms. We really, really appreciate it, and that kind of helps supports the podcast as well. So, yes. And then also,
We want to thank our sponsor,
Yes.
Joseph from Draw Joseph,
yes,
who was wonderful at the art market.
Really
Fabulous.
great.
He was so cool.
Love him.
fabulous.
And we want to thank Would You Kindly, who did our theme song. And we
Mhm.
want to thank Amy for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
Yes.
you. And we want to thank everybody at home for listening.
Yes, thank you. Love you guys. And I think that about wraps it up for this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.
Depression, addiction, the thrill that you seek. Our restlessness cages the fire we need.